So I think a lot of these are the embellishments I'm going to use on that frame, but I don't know which ones, and I may use them all, I may not. But either way, I want to get them all ready so they're available. These are the Prima molds that I showed. These are the Zuri molds. This is a new Zuri mold I just got. This is a Zuri mold that I didn't show on that Zuri mold video. It's pretty, isn't it? And then these were those cheap that came in the 4-pack. The off-brand name, these two that I showed you guys. That I painted with chalk paint because initially they were white. Now I think the chalk paint is too yellow, even though these have a mix with clay of ecru, white, things like that. These are just too one color. So I'm going to dry brush these with some white gesso. Again, using the Finnabar. I'm just dry brushing. It's super easy, but it's what it means. So very, very little paint on the brush. Tap it off onto something, and then literally just flick motion. Now this paint is not very opaque. I'm trying to use it up, but it takes many layers, whereas, like I said, the Bob Ross gesso tends to work better. And I might actually use that because I don't know if this is gonna show up enough. Let me grab my Bob Ross gesso. Or I could even use some white chalk paint. I do have white chalk paint. So this is my Bob Ross gesso, which honestly is one of the best gessos I've ever used. I'm going to just take a little bit off and then, let's see. See, because that other one, or is it this one? You can barely see it, but let's see. So just to give it something. And we're also going to, I don't know, add something else to these. Now I don't have many oil pastels other than the water soluble ones, which I don't want to use. I have a metallic set of oil pastels. So I'm going to try to tint these. I'm also going to use some of the Prima waxes. There we go. That just adds a little bit of something different. Make it a little, less yellow. So we may tint these some more, all of them. Okay. That looks a little better. Not sure if you can see the difference, but I totally can. Okay, so let me put away my gesso. Let's see. So, okay. So I have this thing. I might not use them. I may. We'll see. I have these oil pastels, but they're metallic. Just a small set, and I took out the gold and the brown. I think I got these on Amazon. So I took out the gold and the brown. I also, so we may use those, and I also have the some Prima waxes. This is a metallic, the Bronze Age, and this is the Opal Magic in Vintage Silk. So the Vintage Silk kind of looks like this, very pretty, but it's not going to be super defined on this project. The Bronze Age, a lot darker. And don't worry about this stuff here. It looks like mold, but it's just the product separating. So we may use this, but this may also be too dark, so we may use some of the oil pastels. Now, I want to kind of test it on the back maybe, just to see what each one looks like. So I have a little makeup sponge here. You could use that or anything, your finger, but I just want to see. So this is just one of those cheapo makeup sponges. Oh, that's nice and faint, which is kind of what I want. I don't want anything too dark. I don't want to turn these brown. Can you see how that tinted that? So we might use that one. Let's try the gold. See what the gold looks like. Yep, that's nice and faint too. So those are showing up really faintly, which I do like because I didn't want to color these. And then let me, with my finger, grab a little bit of this. See, this I thought almost might be, yeah, too dark. That's too dark, which is what I was thinking it was going to be too dark. For, you know, the vintagey kind of shabby chic look I'm going for. And then this vintage silk, super pretty. You get on my finger there, which is hard for the camera to pick up once I put it on something light like this. If I put it on heavy, you can see it right there. So I think we'll use those three. Hang on, I gotta blow my nose. Okay, so let's just go on tinting. Let's use some of this brown first, because it will be the darkest color, and then if we don't like it, we can always go over it with these lighter colors. So just lightly. So that little stuff flicking off is just from the sponge breaking down. If you have a nice sponger thing, you can use those. But you'll be able to just wipe it off after. You know, just trying to get some of the texture. I don't know, just add something different to them. See? Making them look a little dirty. So I'll put a little bit of the brown on everything. And then we'll put some of the gold. And then on top we'll do the vintage silk. My dog's chewing his bone upstairs in our bedroom. I don't know if you can hear him. I hope you guys are doing well. I know. I don't know. We may be going back to work soon. Right? Today's Mother's Day, May 10th, 2020. So coronavirus still. And the governor, Vermont's done really well, but we shut down our state really, really fast compared to a lot of other states, I guess. And we've had a lot less cases than they originally thought we were going to. And so they've already opened up like construction jobs. First it was like 2-man crews, you know, and they had to wear masks and stuff like that. And then now it's up to 10 with specific training and wearing masks and stuff like that. And then they opened up like factory jobs if they can alternate, you know, crew, different hours to keep it 10 or less. He also just opened up 10 or less gatherings. And then on Friday, he announced that daycares can open up June 1st. But again, they're going to need specific plans and training in place. So he's telling them to get ready for June 1st. I do not know when dental's going to open. It's, you know, I really feel like they should open, maybe I'm wrong about this, like hairdressers and nail salons first, because it is a contact, just like hygienists and dentists. You know, we have contact with people, but you're not sticking your fingers in someone's mouth. And this virus is spread through bodily fluids, secretions, things like that, airborne and on droplets. And it is crazy the amount of splatter that dentists and dental hygienists produce. And so I feel like we should open up contact jobs, but light contact jobs, meaning like you're not in the mouth, you're not dealing with blood, you're not dealing with bodily fluids. first and see how that runs. And see how that goes. And if that goes good, then open us up, you know. I'm just kind of scared to go stick my fingers in people's mouths. Because right now the hospitals are open to non-emergent treatment, like outpatient treatment. But they have to test the patients. They have to do... How can I test my patient in the hour I'm supposed to be doing their cleaning? We can't. And I see a patient an hour. Kids, I see one every half hour. Some offices do 45-minute cleanings. So I see 8 to 10 patients on an average day. You know, if we get a family of 4 kids, it could be 10 to 12 patients an average day times 4 to 5 hygienists. I mean, you got 50, 60 people running in an office. At any one time, we got probably 30 people in our office. And that doesn't include the patients that come early and are waiting while we're finishing up. You know, so what is that? No, it's just something on it. I don't know. I'm just kind of nervous to go sticking my hands in mouths this early. My sister's like, well, if we're all going to get it, we might as well just get it over with. And I'm like, I'd rather get it when they have a better treatment. And... you know, she thinks we can just get it once. Well, what if we can get it over and over? How many times do you want to get sick with it? And how many times are we going to actually all make it through? You know, one time it might not be a bad series of it, but then one time you could get it really bad. Who knows? We don't really know. That's the problem. I think those look pretty. Let's add some gold, just because I feel like adding gold. Let's see. I'm not a big gold fan. I'm really not. I don't know. But this is the type of project that it's kind of going in that color tone, so I'm just rubbing it on here. I don't know if it's easier for you to see it. Let me, if I just set it down. So I've been making, I don't really know how to say it, Pomeranian foam flowers. So I've been making pretty foam flowers. I've been making these like little roses. There's tons and tons of Pomeranian videos on YouTube. So I bought some foam off of Etsy because it's not the foam that you can find on Amazon. This stuff is so thin. It's not regular craft foam. Because I bought some off of Amazon, but it wasn't thin enough to do what a lot of these artists on YouTube are doing with it. So I bought some on Etsy. Let me see. I don't want to get it dirty. This is the foam. It's so thin. And you can heat it and do all kinds of weird things with it. So I've been making some flowers to go on the project with out of that. Obviously, I made the fabric flowers that I showed you guys. And the lace ones and stuff. Tons of videos again on YouTube. If you just look up fabric flowers, ribbon flowers, shabby chic flowers, all kinds of videos on that kind of stuff already. So I'm not going to copy, because I'm learning from them. So I'm not going to like watch a video and then show you how I'm doing it from their steps. I mean, I've watched tons and tons of the flower videos with fabric and foam and whatever, and I may be merging 4 or 5 videos together, but still you can do the same thing. So a couple more of these. I don't know, I like these. It's making them look a little more dirty, older. And then we'll lighten it up with the other one in a second, the vintage silk. And then once I get my desk cleaned just a little bit, we'll start tinting the frame. Trying to get the frame going because it is Mother's Day, so I should have this done already, but I'm going to call my mom and tell her Happy Mother's Day, but I don't have your gift done yet. Okay, and then with the vintage silk, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Just with my finger. You could use a sponge or something. Oh, pretty. Just pick up the texture. And it's got a smell to it. It's the weirdest smell. It's like a baby powder smell, but I don't understand why they make it smell. Maybe it smells horrible when they make it, so they added a scent to it. This is the only brand that has a smell. And it's like a perfumey smell, like a baby powder kind of smell. I don't know, but every time I get out my fingers, you'll smell it for a little while. It's not unpleasant, but I don't know how much I love baby powder. That's the only thing I can explain it. This is like a baby powder. You see all that shimmer over there? I mean, you could get it on there more, but I'm just trying to get the texture, I guess, mainly. Leave my base color down in there still. Okay, this one. These waxes will last you forever if they don't harden up or something. I don't know. I've probably had them for 2 years or so. I mean, seriously. I mean, I did stop doing mixed media for a while. I've just barely started to get back into it. And that's the thing. Either you're going to see what I'm doing, which is why I'm showing you this, or if you don't want to see it, I just won't record it, and then there will be no video for the week. Because right now I'm really, other than doing stuff like this, I'm really not working with polymer clay. So it's up to you guys. I mean, if you don't want to see this, that's fine. I don't need to record, but quite a few of you have asked me to show you. I just released my other Mother's Day for my mother-in-law's gift the other day. About 400. I have about 10,000 viewers now. About 400 of you have watched it. So, you know, that's still 400 people. So that's good. So I'll probably keep recording them. It's just, you know, you probably won't get a clay thing. So if you don't want to watch, don't watch it. If you do, you do. It is what it is. I'm crafting. You know, I don't make money on any of this, so it's not a real business for me other than a little bit of commission on Amazon products if you buy my Amazon products that I recommend. So for me to force myself to work with a medium I'm really not into working with right now, polymer clay, I'm really more into doing these mixed media projects. You know, there's no loss for me other than feeling bad for you guys that I don't have a video. But a lot of you are become good friends of mine, so through our Facebook dealings and stuff like that, so you get it. I like this. This is pretty. Who doesn't like shimmer, huh? What person doesn't like, or at least lady, doesn't like glitter and shimmer? And not that I like working with glitter, don't get me wrong, glitter's, but I like the shimmer of it. A little bit more down here. I mean, how pretty. That one's done, that one's done. Is this one? Nope. A little bit on this one, and then we have them all done. Problem is with this frame is it's so big, I'm working on like 4 or 5 projects at once. So I got stuff all over my desk, and I gotta move everything. It's hard to record it because it's so big. But I want to get that frame tinted. And I may use some of this wax on the frame as well, this color that we're using right now afterwards. But I want to see if we can tint that crackle. So, I don't know. Yeah, you can definitely see the difference from where we started to where we finished. Those are cool looking now, I think. Really brought out the details in them. So those are all ready to go. And I cut the vellum to fit behind this one. But I may not use this one. I may use this one and then this one. I don't know if it'll be too much though. So we'll decide later once we start setting it all on. Okay, let me pick this up and... So I'm going to show you this just because I'm going to use it probably. I'm making my own, yes, you can see my bowl of strawberries. I'm making my own spray in kind of the color I want that I don't have. So I've added, this I did a long time ago. It must have been some brown mica powder. And I'm going to add some different colors to it. I have this one here that I thought might look nice down in there. I mean, you probably could, like I said, add food coloring if you have a bunch of like food coloring. We could probably even put a couple splashes of alcohol ink. I don't know how it would do with water, if it would separate or not. You know, there's all kinds of things you could play around with and try. And the first time I did this, I added yellow because I didn't know what it would look like. So I used a yellow mica, but they look very similar to a lot of the sprays. I mean, you might not get as good of a color or as perfect of a color as some sprays, but I have a sprayer bottle from the dollar store. I have tons of mica powders. Yeah, I believe the first time I added this bronze antique in the Pearl X. Let's see, is there any other color? Antique gold, that might look good down in there. Let's add a little of that. And we'll see how this works out. And maybe, just for the heck of it, let's see what do I got for a brown alcohol ink. Let's see. Let me just find a brown one. That's Pebble, but that's not. Hang on, I'm finding one. If I can. I have Caramel, but that's kind of not what I want. If I can lay my eyes. We have Ginger, but that's very similar. Oh, here we go. Espresso. Latte. Let's use a espresso, a couple drops of espresso in it. So like I said, you don't need to have, I mean, you can buy sprays. Don't get me wrong, they are absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, but I think you can make them too. So that's what I'm attempting. Just a couple drops in there and we'll see. I don't want to make it dark, dark, dark. I mean, honestly, does that look much different than... Hang on, let me get a color that's... I just recently mixed. Because these come in a powder and then you have to add water. This is like a weird blue. It like has this brown undertone. You gotta mix them up well, but I think this will work. Let me just... stir it enough. Hang on. Put some on a piece of paper. I'll let that dry and see what color I'm gonna get. I mean, this is like a glossy paper, so it's not the best paper. I mean, this is not a dark color. This would be, to me, more of a tint color, like a distress spray. I have this one distress spray that's really dark, but I don't think I want to go that dark with it. Okay. Okay, so I got the frame, and I've already used a little bit of my spray right here in the corner. I don't know if you could see a little of the difference. But I'm not going to spray it. I just want to kind of try to get it down into the grooves and maybe tint the top a little bit. I'm still going to work on these. I'll probably dry brush them with white and then do the same thing with the pastels and the metallic wax to tint these. But I'm going to use this homemade spray. And I'm going to use a baby wipe. And these are just cheap dollar store baby wipes. Remember in the last mixed media project I had a blue one? This is where I tinted the baby wipe doing stuff like this. And then I keep them when they're dry because they actually can look really cool. And you can make flowers out of them and all kinds of things. So pretty much all we'll do... And be careful when it's open. I'm not going to spray it. I mean, if you wanted to spray it, you could spray it. I'm just going to kind of try to get it down into those cracks and crevices. And just stress this frame a little bit more. You could paint. You could dry brush a color of paint on it if you wanted to. You know, so we created all these little grooves with the crackle paste. And I just want to kind of tint them. And I may do, you know, one full layer of this. And then probably maybe with another color after, go over and maybe darken the edges or something. I don't want this to get crazy dark though. I don't know. We'll see as we go. I mean, that's the whole point of doing mixed media. I mean, it doesn't mean you couldn't do this. The whole, you know, someone just posted on that one I made for my mother-in-law with the white flowers and the little bird on it. She's like, I wish she would tell us in the description what she's making. Well, who says you couldn't have glued that little piece of paper with all that stuff to a journal? You couldn't have glued it to a frame. You couldn't have glued it, you can make it a wall hanging, something you just stand on a little, lean up against something. I mean, you can, the whole point of doing mixed media is to put it on all kinds of stuff. This is an altered frame here, and it's just an altered frame because that's what I had. But I mean, who says you couldn't alter a smaller frame or a piece of wood or whatever? You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be mixed. When I watch mixed media videos, it's more to just give you inspiration. You're probably not ever going to be able to copy this unless you can find this really old frame. You're probably never, ever going to be able to copy this or make this exactly. And I've never made an exact project off of someone else. I mean, it's just impossible. And I don't even think I could make this project exactly again another time. It's just kind of the way it goes. You just can't redo things. It just never works like that. So it's wet right now, so it doesn't show up, but as soon as it dries, you can definitely see it better. So let me just hit it with my heat gun, which the cord is really short right now. And because we have micas in it, it's really shimmery. So let me see if you can see what I'm saying here. Hang on. Can you see? One, it's shimmery, which I don't know if the camera will pick up, but two, it looks darker than this. So maybe we'll do some of that. I also have this Gossamer Gold from Lindy's. Let me just shake it up. Which might be a pretty color, almost very similar to the one I made. So maybe let's see. Obviously theirs are a little more opaque. I mean, they're professionally made. Let's see if I put some of this in the corner. Yeah, that one's definitely a little darker. Let me see if I can. Can you see it? It looks dirtier and dingier than it used to. I'm only lightly wiping it because I want it to be down in the cracks. So I might use this Lindy's one. Mine's a little lighter. I might use a mix. Who knows? There we go. That one's definitely darker. I'm going to wipe some of it off. I don't want it to be that dark, I don't think. It's kind of like staining, like using a stain on wood. I don't know. What do you think? Let me dry it so it's not so shiny. I wanted to bring out the crackle some. Because the fine crackle is really hard to see. Like, this is really fine crackle, and let me find another spot that has a lot of fine crackle. And remember, you're zoomed in, but look at all this fine crackle. You know? And I wanted to kind of make it darker so you can actually see it from like across the room. So that's what I'm going to do with it, I think. So I'm going to go around and do this whole frame. When it's done, I'll show you. I'll come back and I'll show you. And because you don't need to watch me crackle tint the whole thing. You know, just distress. I mean, you could probably even try coffee or tea. I'm going to use my color because that's a little too dark for what I was going for. I'm going to use the color I made and just kind of keep going around. I mean, you could probably use a paintbrush or whatever too. If I let it sit for a minute. Down in the cracks and then wipe it off. I can also try a stamp pad. The Distress colors come in stamp pads. If I have a brown one, I can try that. You know, try to use what you have. You could water down some acrylic really well. You could use alcohol inks. You know, if you want to do this whole crackle thing. Look at it just going down in there on its own. I don't even really need to wipe it off. Except for where it's kind of pooling. Oh, my mom was calling me. I'm going to finish this. Almost done with the first coat. I just have this area, but I've gone up to here. About here. So I think what I'm doing, what I've been doing is just kind of letting it soak in. And I'm still using the color I made. So I've just kind of been just sitting here, and I was talking to my mom for a minute, spreading it around and then letting it kind of soak down into the cracks and tapping off after any kind of spots that are pooling up. And I might go around and do another coat. Again, I might try a darker color on the corners. I have no clue, you know. I really am just kind of winging it. I've never done this before. Down in the cracks or anything. I've never... So why not try something new? And I think it's definitely giving it more of a browner tone, like a dirtier white. If I couldn't get pure white, I'm going to get dirty white. And I couldn't get pure white on this frame for some reason. It just wouldn't go pure white. So rather than it be like this weird off-white color, I'm going to make it a little more brown. So you see how it's been soaking in, and just any of these areas I'm just, you know, gently tapping it up as I go. And then just moving on. So if I give a second to soak in down in the cracks, it really makes these, it's really making these, to me, these cracks show up more. I mean, you can't even hardly tell there's cracks over here until you tint it, and then they, oh, there they are. You know what I mean? You guys see it? And I like crafting, so I don't mind that this takes a minute. You know, I really enjoy doing this. I'm not looking for mass production of things, so I don't mind, you know, just taking my time with this little end of the dropper and letting it go down in. Now, if you want to do this faster, you could probably just take a brush and saturate your brush and just brush it over, but I'm okay doing this and not dirtying another brush. I'm just about done. I started on this corner about here, you can see. I hope the camera is picking it up well. Just about done. Yeah, it does definitely remind me of a stain. And that's kind of what I was envisioning, like stained old frame. Like it was pure white at one point and not anymore. I'm gonna let that sit for 2 seconds and then we'll there. Let me just dry it. It's just like most things, once it's dry, it looks a little darker. Definitely looks dingier, huh? And that's definitely what I was going for. I'm sure I gotta stand up so I can see if you can see. I hit the stop button, I didn't mean to. So it definitely looks dirty and dingier to me, which is good. It's what I was going for. My only thing is, do I want to try to do another coat in some of these areas? It makes me nervous because I'm like, oh, if I do it, will I mess it up, you know? Let's try the distress spray. That's that really dark one. I'm not going to let this sit too long. See, I don't know if I want to go that dark with it. Oh, I peeled off a piece. Where'd it go? I can glue it back down. See, a piece of the crackle just popped off. You can just take that piece, and what I'll do is I'll just glue it in. I pulled it off with the wipe. See, if I go darker, I could always dry brush on top with some... Ooh, I could always dry brush on top with some white. Do I have any tacky glue close by, or glue? I do. I'm gonna glue that little piece down on. Where is it? Is this one? Yeah, just a little tacky glue or any kind of glue. Where to go? Right here. You could probably use hot glue. If that's what you have handy. Or... Oops, stuck to my finger. There we go. So I actually might go darker. I might go with this dark. And then stay away from that tacky glue part. And just some of it, you know, might go with this dark. And then I could always dry brush and use that metallic, that Oval Magic wax. Afterwards. And yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. Do a little bit on these. Might be better off to use an actual cloth. These are kind of catchy, like they're catching on the lumps. Because the crackle's kind of jaggedy. Oh, did I just pull that off again? Damn it. Where'd that piece go? Do I see it? No, I'll just paint that little spot white. If I can't find it, I don't feel it in my fingers. I got all kinds of foam and stuff on the floor from cutting. I'll just paint that one white. Whatever. Might be getting a little wet, you know, underneath. Wood might be, or something, I don't know. And I'm rubbing it harder than I was intending. So I might pull some of this crackle off. Because it's so catchy. These baby wipes, these cheap baby wipes. You know, paper towel might actually work better. These are like, oh well. If I pull some pieces off, not a big deal. I'm going with it. kind of like this darkness it just gave me around that vine. Yeah, there goes another piece of crackle right there. Okay. Not worried, I'll just paint down in there. I mean, I don't plan on the crackle being super consistent, but I don't want the brown showing either. Okay, I'm going to finish this same way. Might be a little too dark right there. And when I'm done, I'll come back and show you what I got. So from looking on camera, it looks really patchy, but it's not. It's all, like from far away, it looks like there's really light spots, but that looks just as dingy as the rest of it. And I did knock off a few pieces of crackle here and there, but I'm going to deal with that. I think the first thing I'm going to do is dry gesso on top of it, try to just keep it on the tips of the crackle. So I'm going to use my Bob Ross gesso. That was probably too much. And just a little bit on your brush and kind of do a flicking motion. Get some streaky. I don't know if yeah, you could see that. Now, if I would have thought I was going in this route before I did this whole thing, I could have honestly just crackled right on top of the brown frame, and it probably would have given me that dark undertone, but I didn't really think I was going this way with it. So it is what it is. I'm working out as I go. I also, to get the crackle to stick better, could have probably sanded the frame, which I did not do. I probably should have. Now, gesso dries matte, so it's shiny right now because it's wet, but once it dries, it will dry matte. Oop, there goes another. Oh, no, that was for my paintbrush. See, try to get the plastic handled paintbrushes, especially if you don't paint a lot, because these ones with wood, if you leave them in a cup of water too long, the handle swells and then this paint flicks off. Not a big deal in this type of thing, but if it's an oil painting and I get a piece of this flicking off into it, it could be a pain in the butt to get it out. A bunch of it keeps flicking off. Josh is down here. He's listening to a podcast. So if you hear that, that's what it is. Now, there's one of two things I could do in these spots that it popped off. Either I could paint it white, or I'm just going to add a little bits of crackle down in there. In those spots, I'm going to re-crackle. Now the Ranger, I believe the Distress is water soluble, so it is going to kind of mix with this a little bit. So you could have to do a couple coats depending on the look you're trying to go for, but I think that will be fine for what I'm going for. You know, and I have a sense of what I'm doing, but I don't know how it's going to come out, because each one's going to come out so different. It will really, it's really hard to say what you're going to end up with. Okay. Okay. So now we got some white on top of it. And then I think I'm going to do this metallic wax too before I go upstairs and clean my hands and everything. And again, whatever you have or don't have. Pretty. Just a little shimmer, you know. Let me zoom you in. You see it? Just here and there and everywhere. Again, just trying to keep it on the texture. Pretty much all of this is trying to bring out everything I've done in the frame. It's trying to enhance all this texture that we've worked hard to create, even though we really didn't work that hard, but you know what I mean. You want to see it from across the room. You don't want to have someone get up close to go, oh wow, look at that texture. Almost done with this. And remember, you can skip around or you can fast forward or whatever you want to do. I enjoy watching people craft, and I know a lot of you do too. So, you know, rather than watch some TV, put on your crafting episode with anybody and sit down and get in bed, get all comfy. Before bed, I like to watch these videos. I usually fall asleep watching a video, a mixed media video, or whatever I'm into at the point in time, because I just enjoy that. But I know some people just want to watch they want it done quick. I'm not like that. I don't like video. I actually don't watch videos that are only like 2 minutes. I just don't like it. I don't like the music that they put on, because I'm usually watching this in bed and it gets really loud and then gets quiet and loud, so it's not very relaxing. So I actually purposely don't choose videos that are only, usually under 10 minutes. I prefer a long video. And that's why I think I like Marta or Marima. I think it's Marima's small art. I think that's how you pronounce it, but Marta. I prefer her videos because they're longer mixed media videos. Some of the mixed media videos out there have the music, and I'd rather listen to someone explain what they're doing than hear some stupid music. 'Cause it's not even like we can pick good songs because it's all copyrighted and stuff, you know? Almost back where I started. Cool. I really like that. Let me cover this and zoom out a little bit. Really like that shimmer that it's got on there. Here we go. There's some of it over here. You can see it. It's really hard because on camera things do not look as they look in real life. Not at all. So it's really hard to show you guys everything. Anyway, so that's that part. The frame's almost done. I'm actually pretty happy with the frame and the way it's looking. I think the only other thing I will do is apply some white crackle. Probably with just a small little brush or maybe even just this little clay tool. Just a little of the crackle down in, you know, these little spots. So just like that, and then it'll crackle on its own. So I'll just take a little tool, a little on the end, just kind of dab it down in there, and then it will do its normal crackle thing. And then I can come back with a little wax. If when it dries it still looks really white, but it actually, when it dried, did not look really white. And you don't need to completely cover up this brown because it'll crackle on top of that. That's if it pops off for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It didn't pop off everywhere, just on a couple spots I got caught with the baby wipe. So anyways, that's pretty much it with the frame.